U.S. cable companies created C-SPAN as a public service. Today, C-SPAN is the political network of record on the 3 C-SPAN television networks, C-SPAN Radio, and a video-rich website, cspan.org.
And now Nobel Peace Prize recipient Mohammed Yunus talks about using microcredit to help the world's poor improve their lives. The event is held at George Washington University's Lisner Auditorium. It's about an hour.
Thank you very much. Good evening. Well, I didn't think that's such a big audience here. And I thought everybody is busy in this town doing the bailout package. They won't have time to come here. I had a good day today. I spent a whole day today here, starting out with a good meeting with Fed Chairman Bernanke. I was doing that to kind of update him about the work that we have been doing in this country. I met him, this is my second visit with him. I met him in October 2007. And at that time, I was trying to explain to him the importance of microcredit in the USA. And he knew all about microcredit beforehand. And I was suggesting that maybe we should start a microcredit program in this country to create a kind of a prototype which can be developed and expanded later on. And he gave all the support. He said, go right ahead and we'll have any support you need from us, we'll give it to you. And I was talking about giving us a legal home so that we can use that legal home to create that organization. Because for microcredit, it's very important that we have the legal facility to take deposits. If we can take deposits, then it becomes easy to lend money because you don't have to go out to raise funds for that. It becomes a complete business. And he promised that he will help us to find right kind of legal structure so that we can do that. So in the meantime, we went ahead and started a program in New York City, in Jackson Heights, in Queens, last January. And it started off very well. On the inauguration of that, that's not the inauguration Washington does. That's it was good enthusiasm, good energy. Lots of journalists came. I remember one journalist asking me, why did you choose New York City to do your Grameen microcredit program here instead of going to villages or rural areas of USA? Because in Bangladesh, you do the villages, not the cities. So my answer was, we deliberately chose New York City and Jackson Heights. We chose New York City because New York City is the world capital of banking. And the city does the banking to the whole world. But it doesn't do banking to its neighbors. So I said, under the shadow of the skyscrapers, those people who live here, they don't have access to the financial service. So we thought we can create a small example to break your fear so that banks can open up and start opening up to them and they get the service. And we began. Now, 1 year later, we have 500 borrowers in that program, all women. And we follow the same principles that we do in Bangladesh, 5 women forming a group, weekly meeting, weekly tiny savings for each savings account for each person. And the average loan size is $2,200. And this within 1 year. Now repayment has always remained near 100%. It's 99.3%. So we didn't realize at that time that there's a big financial crisis will come over, and now it gives a very interesting contrast. There is the women in New York taking loans without collateral, without any lawyers, pay back every week, near 100%. And for 1 year they have been doing it and had no problem. It's the big banks having all the problem. They can't get their money back. So I remember my first encounter with bank when I started this in Bangladesh back in 1976. When I tried to propose, I proposed to the bank manager next to the village that I was trying to bring financial service to the poor people in that village. When I proposed it to the bank manager, he was repeatedly arguing to convince me the bank cannot lend money to the poor people because they are not creditworthy. And I was challenging it. I didn't know anything about it because I never did it. Banking was never my business or even my academic subject. But he would not give up. Now I think it's a good time to ask a question. Who is creditworthy? And then I went to IMF. It's a good meeting, see? To explain to them. And I repeated to them what I said. I'm also coming from Davos, and I went to Davos this time with my own interest to talk to people there. The issue that I was raising at Davos and mentioning it to IMF meeting today, that this is the deepest of the crisis that you can get. And the deepest crisis is also an exciting time, because this is an exciting opportunity to create new. In Davos, everybody was so busy talking about the crisis and how to get out of this crisis. And I kept repeating that as you consume yourself in this discussion of the crisis, how do you get out of crisis, you devote half of your time how to rebuild the system so that we don't go back to the same old normalcy that we are coming from. When you get out of this crisis and go to the normalcy, what kind of normalcy will it be? Will it be the same thing that we had or something new? And I keep urging everybody, please don't go back to the same old normalcy. Please make sure today, right now, that we create absolutely new normalcy. And maybe people will be wondering, what will be that new normalcy? What are you talking about? So at IMF, I was saying that the new normalcy will be that financial system will be built in such a way that in this country, in the United States, there will be no payday loans anymore. People can get people can go to the bank and legitimately borrow money without paying 500%, 700%, 1,000% interest. It is such a disgrace to see payday loans all over the city, everywhere in the United States. Tells you What a gaping hole banking system has left behind, so that people have to go there to protect their life, to continue with their life in such a terrible situation. I said the new normalcy would be that every single person in this country will have the right to open a bank account. There are millions of people who don't have a bank account, cannot open a bank account. So when they receive their salary check, to get the money, they have to go to the check cashing companies. And these check cashing companies take off a good sized money out of that check. They don't get their income that they have earned safely in their hand. Somebody picks up a share out of that. So this financial system that we will have when we go back to the normalcy, it will be an inclusive system. Nobody will be denied service. There should not be any financial apartheid anymore, that you draw the line that these people are not qualified, these people are qualified. Those lines should be gone. And you cannot say anymore that it cannot be done, because the system that we developed, which finally spread all over the world, not only it works in Bangladesh, it works everywhere. Any particular corner of the world, particular village of the world, it has not failed anywhere. So why can't we integrate the whole system and make it a financial system which works for everybody, even for the beggars? In Grameen Bank, we lend money to beggars. And in a very deliberate way, not that suddenly some beggars got in, sneaked in. It's not like that. We focused on beggars. When you talk about beggars, always think of sneaking in. That's not how it happened. We deliberately addressed them. Initially, we thought we'll have about 1,000, 2,000 beggars in the program to see how it works. But it became so popular. Soon we have more than 100,000 beggars. And it's a very simple idea. It's not a complicated thing. All we do, we go to the beggars, talk to them, try to understand how their life is. And gradually we suggest to them, as you go from house to house begging, would you carry some merchandise with you? Some cookies, some candies, some toys for the kids, and give people options, whether they will give something in charity, some food, some money, or buy something from you. And we make it sound very easy for them. We say, you are going there anyway. So this is no extra work for you. They immediately see the point. They liked the idea. And we started giving money. And soon it started growing. Now we have more than 100,000 beggars in the program. And we started 4 years back. In these 4 years, more than 11,000 beggars have completely stopped begging because they became such successful door-to-door salesperson. Some even became personal shoppers. Housewives will give you a list. Bring me this, here is the money. Because she cannot go out in the market, but the beggar woman, she can. So she picks up the things that she has asked for and gets some money out of it. Remaining 90,000 or so, I would say they are part-time beggars now, mixing begging and selling. And they are very smart. When I talk to them, they will be explaining which house is good for begging Which house is good for selling? And I tell my colleagues, they never went to business school, but they understand market segmentation very clearly. So nobody is kind of quote-unquote stupid in the sense that, oh, the guy, they can't do anything. Everybody has the ability. That's the amazing thing about human beings. Enormous creativity, unlimited potential. It doesn't matter whether you're a beggar, whether you're a big businessman, it doesn't matter. They have the same ability to begin with. Simply, they started at two different points. And society never helps changing the situation. So the one who started at the very bottom, he struggles with his life at the very bottom. He cannot move up. And the one who started at the top level, he goes fast, higher and higher. Ability-wise, both have the same capacity. Some even don't know that they have the capacity because they never had the occasion to use any of it. That is the most unfortunate part of the whole world. That everybody carries such a wonderful gift inside of them, a gift of creativity, gift of entrepreneurship, gift of innovation. But that gift was never unwrapped. She or he doesn't even know that she has that gift and is wasted away. So I talk about this particularly when I see the difference between all these children in the families of Grameen members. We give them, encourage them to go to school, they went to school. We give them education loan to continue with the higher education. We have now more than 34,000 students on education loans in medical schools, engineering schools, universities. Their parents never went to school. Their grandparents never went to school. Any generation up never went to school. This is the first generation who are going to school. Not only went to school, now they are in the highest education. Some of them have their PhDs already. All we did is just to give a loan, that's all. We don't give a special lessons to them, nothing. They do themselves. So when you see a mother who joined Grameen Bank 15 years back, 20 years back, changed her life with these tiny loans, totally literate, and next to her, young daughter, she's a medical doctor. And you look at them, and you wonder, her mother could have been a doctor too. There's nothing wrong with her mother. Simply, society never gave her an opportunity. She never been able to go to school, forget about being a doctor. In one generation, the child which used to go with her in the center meeting of Grameen Bank, carrying her and watch, and then she went to school, and then went up. She had the education loan, went to medical school, now she's a doctor. So you come back to the same old question. Who creates poverty? And definitely, and the answer is, poor don't create poverty. It's not their creation. Poverty is created by the system. System that we build, system that we design, system that we work with. That's what creates poverty. Poverty is an artificial imposition on human being. It's not natural to human being. It is absolutely the opposite of human being. So if it is artificial, anytime we like, we can peel it off. A real human being will come out. with unlimited potential to give, explore, unleash. But we don't go that way. The poverty is created by the system built with all the institutions that we built, all those policies that we pursue, all those concepts that we promote. And one institution that I was trying to explain is the financial institution. Why should financial institution make up their mind that you cannot do business with 2/3 of the world population? It doesn't make sense. They were trying to explain to us it's because they are not creditworthy. Somehow they define that they are not creditworthy. And that's why I was raising the question. Let us now decide who are creditworthy. Then the concepts. And one concept that I tried to explain in the book, the concept of business. The concept of business is always to make money. Business means maximization of profit. You have no other interpretation of business. And anybody will feel uncomfortable with that because the theory interprets human being in such a narrow way, such a restricted way, as if human beings some kind of money-making robots. Human beings are much bigger than that. We took only a little piece of human being and built a whole theory out of it, and we are running to fit into that theory. So we didn't build the theory to fit us. We built the theory and trying to fit ourselves into it, making a huge, big human being into a tiny little role. I said, if we think that human being has some selfishness in them, okay, there is selfishness in all of us. But why don't you accept that we all also have the selflessness in us? Same thing. And many other qualities, but let's, for the time being, talk about selfishness and selflessness. On the basis of selfishness or self-centeredness, we build the whole theory of business. And everything has to come to me. I struggle, I work hard to bring it to me. Fine, I have no quarrel with that. What about the other part of it? Me, selflessness. I cannot express it in the business world, in the economic world. In order to express it, I have to step outside of the economic world and become a philanthropist, give away my money. What is the problem with the businessman inside the economic world? Why can't we create another kind of business? Business which will aim completely at others. Nothing for me, everything is for others. And that's the business I'm proposing. I said, let's call it social business. And that is a business where we don't want to get involved with to make money. That we do because we want to change the world. We want to handle all the problems of the world through business. It can be done. If I use the money for charity money goes, philanthropy money goes, it never comes back. If I can design it as a social business, same thing. But it becomes so much powerful because social business money recycles. At every turn, you get more benefit. So it becomes an institution. So it has its own life. It continues by itself. It's a machine, self-propelling machines. Why can't we accommodate it within the business world? So we started doing such companies in Bangladesh, again to demonstrate that it can be done. Many of them we have done. But now recently, some of them became very popular because we have done it jointly with big multinational companies. One is known as Grameen Danone Food Company. Danone is a big yogurt company, milk company, water company. So what we have done jointly, created a plant to produce yogurt. and it's a social business. Bangladesh has millions of malnourished children. What we have done, we produce yogurt and put all the micronutrients which are missing in the children. Vitamin, iron, zinc, iodine, all in that yogurt. And make it very cheap so that even the poorest child can buy it and enjoy it. An expert tells us that if a child eats 2 cups of this yogurt every week and continues to do so for over 8 or 9 months, all the micronutrients will come back. And in that period, the child will become a healthy child. So if you can bring a malnourished child turn into a healthy child by doing business, what's wrong with it? And difference between this yogurt company and another yogurt company will be, in a profit-making yogurt company, you'll be asking your CEO, how much money we have made this year? How can we make more money next year? In a social business yogurt company like Grameen Bank, you'll be asking, how many children got out of malnutrition this year? How many more children we can get out of malnutrition next year? So the whole objective is different. So this is the whole idea of social business. Then another company came. This is a water company, Veolia, French company. We created Grameen Veolia Water Company. Bangladesh has serious problem of arsenic contamination in our drinking water. Almost half the population of Bangladesh are victims of this arsenic contaminated water. So every day they are drinking this water, which is just nothing but poison. Day after day you are drinking poison, your children are drinking poison. And imagine the health impact of this. So we created this company to bring safe drinking water, Veolia quality water. If you put it in a bottle, it will sell in the market at a very high price. But we are doing it in the village, sell it to the villagers. It would cost 1 penny for 4 liters, so that everybody can afford, everybody can have safe drinking water. Because this company is created as a social business, profit making is not their objective. Objective to keep the company running, covering its cost, and make sure people don't have to drink arsenic contaminated water. So you can create varieties of those companies. We just discussed recently with a big shoe company, very famous shoe company. They were interested to talk to us because we explained to them what social business. And they said, we would like to do a social business, but what should we do? We are a shoe company. I said, you can make a shoe company out of through the social business. First of all, you take a kind of a theme for your company or a motto for your company, and you believe in it. That motto will be, nobody in the world should go without shoes. If you say that, your kind of company can say that and make it happen. And that would be the greatest pleasure, that yes, we can make shoes for even the poorest person in an affordable price. I said, to begin with, you can start first round of shoes, which will cost under $1, and with your brand name. That will give a big message, and then continue to go down, never come up again, and make it green shoes so that no material in the shoes will make any kind of pollution problem. So that's another idea. So we keep on working with them. Another company is a big car-making company. They want to do a social business. And we gave them a challenge that, okay, you make vehicles, your cars are famous cars, why don't you make it very cheap cars for Bangladeshi roads, which we don't have very well. And not only that, it will be based on a green engine, and then it will be multi-purpose engine. You can take it off from the vehicle, from the car, and then it becomes irrigation engine. It will do the irrigation. Or you take it off and generate electricity. Or you take it off, put it in a boat, it becomes an engine for the boat. So that it has multiple purpose, not just it sits with the vehicle and never, even if you're not using the vehicle, still it's sitting there. After all, people have invested in that. Why can't you do that kind of thing? So they promise that they will seriously discuss it with their designers and engineers to see if they can come up with that. And we want to go in a big way in the healthcare as a social business, because health is a big problem, not only in this country, in every single country. Most of the people, particularly bottom half in most of the countries, do not get any health care. Neither the government healthcare service reach them, nor the private sector healthcare reach them, because private sector are busy at the top. And the government service is a chaotic service. It doesn't really come up with a good service. So we want to see whether social business can fill it in. We can create a health service in a way everybody can afford it, everybody can get it, and state-of-the-art medical science can be applied to help people have a good health. So if you change your concepts, change in institutions, there is no reason why anybody should be poor, because that's where it came from. If you block that road, it cannot come, then no poor. And I keep saying that the poverty doesn't belong to human society. Poverty belongs to museum, and that's where we should put it back, and they will be staying there. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. I think I should take some questions before we conclude.
Good evening.
Yeah.
Hi. With an organization. Wait.
I don't see.
All right.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah, there's one of us at each microphone, so you can just cycle through.
I can see, yeah, right.
All right, so we've been kicking around microcredit in this country for about 20 years, mostly copied on your ideas and the good folks at Axion. Based on your knowledge, would you say that there's anything particularly either easier or harder about doing microcredit in the United States than where you grew your first programs?
I would say it's harder here.
Any particular reason why?
Not because of any difference in people, it's because of the legal restrictions. Because welfare laws, you immediately confront the welfare wall. You cannot penetrate to the welfare wall. It's a funny kind of interpretation of welfare law that if you earn $1 and if you are on welfare, you have to report it to the welfare authority so that they can deduct it from your check. It's very funny. It doesn't make sense. The reverse would have made sense to me. I would have said, if you make $1, the government will match you with $1. So it makes it extremely difficult to deal with the welfare law. So one of the thoughts that we have when we start hitting that wall, then that's the reason why we did it in Jackson Heights, where welfare has not penetrated yet. because these are newly arriving migrant people. So we would be dealing with the governments to give waivers or change the welfare law. It's very important that the welfare law is changed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
In one part of, over here, Dr. Yunus, hello.
Okay, yeah.
In one part of your
I
book,
can't see anything.
No problem.
Now I see.
you discuss approaching poor women who are reluctant because they do not realize that they have the potential and the skills to become entrepreneurs. And after giving them some encouragement and showing them successful examples, then they become to realize their own potential. For the poor women out there who do not have that encouragement or do not have a successful example, what would you say to them? What would your message be to them?
Well, keep on encouraging to overcome fear, but the real trick is find one demonstration. You cannot change their mind right away. The fears around them accumulated for hundreds of years. So all of a sudden you cannot expect that the old fears will disappear. But if you can create one example, a desperate woman out of desperation breaking that fear and taking the money, and if she becomes successful, that yes, she is doing it the right way, then everybody else becomes curious. How did she do it? I can do better than her.
Thank you.
And that will be the real start. And gradually numbers will increase. And more numbers you have, it increases in an exponential way. That's what I think the best thing to do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Yunus. I'm a student here at GW, and a group of us are just starting out trying to get a co-op on campus, a student-run business. And I was wondering if you have any advice for people, young people just starting out trying to make a social business, as you call it, like yourself.
Absolutely. Yes, indeed. There's one of the challenges that I mentioned in the book. Young people like you can start one, but if those who are not in a position to start one, design one. Designing is a mental exercise. You have all the creativity in the world at your disposal. In your thoughts, in your creative moments, you can design a social business. Just look at what the problem is. What problem is that you want to approach or solve with your social business? First, decide that point. Like I want to design a social business to make sure at least I can take 100 people out of welfare. That's the goal that I have in my social business. So I keep on designing how to do that as a business, not as, okay, I give you money, you come out of welfare. It's not like that. It has to be a business. You have to recover the cost, at the same time achieve the objective. If you can succeed in that, in the beginning it looks impossible. No, you can't do that, but it is possible. If somebody started doing microcredit, in the beginning they would say, oh, this is impossible. Now it looks like nothing. Anybody can do that. But the first time when you do it, it looks very impossible. But the fun of doing this, you overcome the impossible by designing it. And if you have designed and you have succeeded in getting 100 people out of welfare, then you have developed a miracle seed. Now you can replicate that seed. You can take out millions of people out of welfare by planting this seed as many times as you want. And that's it. Every social business starts with a small seed. So anyone can design a seed, whether you want to get the welfare people out of welfare, whether you want to take unemployed people out of unemployment, whether you want to take homeless people out of homelessness. It's all a social business. You can design it. Your first round may not be as perfect as you wish, but the second round will become a beautiful project, beautiful seed. And you say, now anybody can take it, I'm ready to give it. So that's the kind of thing you can do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Dr. Yunus. Hi. I was wondering, I haven't read your books, not yet, but I was wondering if you could talk about people abusing the system and how it seems to happen so not often, and how it seems to be rare, and if you could explain why that occurs and how it occurs.
They abuse the existing system?
Like microfinance.
Microfinance,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Microfinance system can be abused, of course. You can say microfinance and not do microfinance. You put the level on top, microfinance. For example, by microfinance, we mean that it should not be dependent on collateral. There are many programs called microfinance, but very much based on collateral. So this is one misrepresentation, abuse of the concept. Microfinance is done for the poorest people, particularly women. And there are many microfinance programs has nothing to do with poverty at all. They are way above and call themselves microfinance. There are many microfinance programs which not only take collateral, also bring in other restrictions into it and still call microfinance. There are microfinance programs who charge exorbitant interest rate, almost at the level of the interest rate charged by loan sharks, but they still call themselves microfinance. So for us, microfinance means loans going to poorest people, particularly poor women, given for income-generating activity. There are many quote-unquote microfinance programs which are giving loans for buying refrigerators, buying television set, buying whatever consumer good. They sell consumer goods and bring the microfinance to finance it. That's not microfinance. Microfinance is about giving loans for income-generating activity. So there are many ways it's violated. So we have to be clear what we mean by microfinance. Thank you.
Dr. Yunus, my question is actually related to that. In your book, you talk about, you propose a rating system for these microfinance organizations to determine which ones actually help the poor and which ones don't. In the year since you wrote the book, has anybody come up with such a system?
Oh, yes. Yeah, there's a big organization coming up with that very principle to establish some ratings system to tell you exactly what interest rate is charged, what is the target group nature, what are the other conditionalities, collateral, other non-collateral, and so on. So yes, it has happened, and very soon we will start seeing the impact of it, looking at the rating from this organization.
So who's doing that, and what's the best way if you want to contribute money to a microfinance organization? What's the best way right now to determine the right organizations to place your money with?
One way would be to contact this organization before you decide to choose which one you want. They just give you the result of their evaluation, and then you decide which one you want to give your money.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, hi, Dr. Yunus.
Yeah, hello.
Thank you very much for speaking with us today. I direct a microfinance organization here in Washington, D.C., and so I'm very happy to have you here. I would like to talk with you some more about bringing Grameen to Washington. My question is, it seems that transparency is one of the greatest, or lack thereof rather, is one of the greatest challenges facing our financial system today, and it's also a big challenge in microfinance. My specific question is, I understand that Grameen boasts very high repayment rates. How do you calculate repayment rates? At what point does a client, at what point are they considered written off or no longer repaying for the sake of transparency? I understand with my institution it's 120 days past due for the sake of demonstrating what our repayment is. How does Grameen calculate that?
Yep. If you have taken a loan and you have a period that within which you pay back, if you don't pay back, then you are overdue. And this all elaborated. If you go to our website, you get every single definition that we use. You'll find it there, so it'll make it very clear. Instead of giving a long lecture about our defining overdue and other things. It's very simple, very straightforward. It's a question of if you are supposed to pay back this amount of money. If you didn't pay back this amount, you are overdue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have time for 3 final questions. We'll take one more from each microphone.
Dr. Yunus, I'm over here on this
Okay,
side.
on this side. Right.
You spoke of a shoe company and that shoe company being able to do green shoes. And I wonder if you might, in a general way, speak a little bit about what you see as the edges between commerce and ecosystems and how your organization is working with that and what you hope to see develop over time.
Well, there's very, very high overlap.
Yes.
Ecosystem and the business and the commerce, because first of all, you are using resources. So in using resources, if it is a non-renewable resource, and if you are using it without any consideration, then you are damaging the future prospect, because you are using it up and next generation will never see it. Or if you are rich people, we are using up other people who don't have the opportunity to use it, they will never have the opportunity because you are using it up. So when it is a non-renewable resource, you have to be very careful. It's not only your asset. You think you have the money, so I'm doing it. They don't have the money, they don't get it. That's a very odd way of defining right to the non-renewable resource. It belongs to everybody. Just because I'm poor today, I cannot do it. You are using it up, that won't be fair. You have to keep it for me so that when I'm able or my children will be able, they will have their share. And it's not between us, also this generation and next generation and the next generation. So how much is for us, this generation, that we have to figure out first before we even talk about between us. The idea would be so that non-renewable resource can be spread as many generations as possible, and as many diverse people as possible, so that can be done. So this is one on the resource side. And the other one is which creates gas emission, greenhouse gas emission, so that we don't do that kind of thing. We restrict and reverse. Because together, as the global warming and all the problems that we talk about, the degradation that it brings to environment, every day the world would be more unsafe than it was on the previous day. But the real job, the real objective of us on this planet would be, we should be making the world more safe than we found it. When we inherited this planet in our hand, that was one level of safety. And we hand it over to our next generation, we'll make it safer. Today we are doing the reverse. We found it in one state and we make it more unsafe than we found it. So that process has to be reversed. And all this can be done to the way we make use of our resources. And when I was talking about Grameen Danone, it's a very small company, Grameen Danone. The total investment is hardly $500,000. But when we are designing it, we had to be very careful because we said this is a social business. When we were discussing with Danone, I started asking what kind of container you'll be using for selling this yogurt. So they showed me, and I said, this is plastic. He said, yeah, this is plastic. I said, we don't want any plastic in a social business. So they were surprised because they said, all over the world, we use plastic container. We never thought about this. No, here it has to be biodegradable container. They didn't have any biodegradable material. So I said, you better find it.
Thank you.
The story is not finished yet. So they went around, came back about 3 months later. They were very happy. They found biodegradable material. They produced the cups. And I said, what is this? They said, this is cornstarch. Yes. And we found it in China. And then we made it. This is the cup. It looks beautiful. I said, can I eat it? He said, why do you want to eat it? I said, because poor people spending money on this one. If they have to throw it away, what a waste of their money. Why can't you make edible cups? And put nutrition in it. So the children will eat the yogurt, and you eat the cup and get more than nutrition. And they couldn't figure out how that could be. I said, look, when I buy ice cream, I get the ice cream cone. And I eat the ice cream and the cone. I love it. Why can't you think of something? He said, no, this is not a cone. Cone will not do that. I said, I know that. But that's why the scientists have to work on it. Why do you look for answer from me? I only raise the question. So they consulted among themselves. Finally, they said it may take about a year for our research people in Paris to come up with such a material. I said, you have to do it in 6 months. 1 year is too long a time. So they are working on it.
Great, great.
So now they like the idea because you have to raise the question. And the scientists were very happy that in Paris because they said, nobody asked us this question. So we never thought about it. Now you asked us a question, you gave us a challenge, we have to work for it. We have to find it. It's our challenge. So this is how we have to solve each one of them, how you got it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hello, Dr. Yunus, right here.
Okay.
Yeah. I noticed in your speech you mentioned how there was such a big difference between the illiterate mother and her daughter getting a doctor's degree, and within just one generation there was such a huge difference in terms of education and success. And I was thinking how Grameen would or could even be able to apply that to a different kind of poverty, the poverty caused by let's say genocide such as in Darfur and along the border of Chad. There are just many people, refugees who had lives in Darfur and have just been ravaged by genocide and need a way to get out of that. And how could microcredit eventually be applicable to that kind of situation?
Yeah, microcredit is something like fits into people's lives. So wherever people live, they have to continue with living, whether it's a war-torn country, whether it's racial tension, or it's a drought-ridden economy, whatever it is. But people live there. People have to go through it. It's not that suddenly it became empty. As long as people need, they have to eat, they have to buy, they have to sell, and then they need the money. But the institutions are not there to support them. So you bring the institution to support them. So that particular aspect can be microfinance, so that you provide that, they can carry on their business, whether it's a refugee camp, whether it's a disaster area of some kind. So anywhere, wherever people need money. This is as simple as that. So you have to work it out in that circumstances, so that you can rebuild, redo, you can do your life a little better than it was before. Thank you.
Thanks.
One final question here.
Okay.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum, Yunus uncle. I'm Ishapla Chaudhary, Dr. Hassan's daughter.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember, I did internship.
I remember you very well.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
How is your family?
I remember your father very well.
Very good, very good.
Yeah.
I have a couple of questions, but I'll try to do it quickly. Baba has an idea about, I was listening to you talking about the juta, the shoe idea and the doi, the yogurt thing, and he has an idea about something to build underneath houses during the flood time, like a styrofoam could float the houses. Are you guys working on anything, could be a styrofoam encased with some kind of concrete or mesh to keep the house from going underwater during the flood season?
Well, this is a big issue in Bangladesh and many countries also, to design appropriate kind of houses so that it can withstand the disaster situation. So many new ideas come, we try it out. So definitely we would like to try out many more, because whatever we have done, still a lot of work to be done. People have been discussing about designing a roof in a way. This is all sliding roof, most of the village houses. Roof in a way that when the flood comes, you take the roof off, turn it around, it becomes a boat, so that you survive, even if your house goes under. But at least you can save your property, you can save your life in turning that. Many particular ideas are there, and we are still waiting to see which one is the best possible solution. So this idea could be one of those which can be tried out.
Very good, thank you. And
Thank you.
Another thing, 10 years ago when I came to Grameen Bank in Bangladesh and I had read Banker to the Poor, and I was reading, you were talking in your book about these development economists who parachute into these developing countries and think they know everything and this and that. And I'm now about to do my master's in development. I'm thinking, I don't want to become one of those people.
Ready yet?
No. So what should I haven't started my master's. I'm thinking, should I go for, how do you think I should best educate myself in order to help Bangladesh, help developing countries? How should I go?
We'll figure it out.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.